Sanctioned, or a black one that we can get printed unsanctioned on.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, a brick with a brick shit. Actually, we can get one that's black, engraved with the brick pattern, and then printed with unsanctioned on the outside.
Yeah.
That'd be fucking hot.
Yeah.
You laid out a very detailed schedule for the president tomorrow with the Prime Minister of Ireland, but it did not include a 2-and-2 press conference. Can you say why not and whether that might be added to the schedule tomorrow?
So I think you've
having a pattern with a lot of the world leaders who are coming to the White House.
Look,
I've spoken up to this many times when it comes to diplomatic.
The briefing that it's not part of the schedule.
Right, and I brought it up many times, and I gave an explanation. These are diplomatic conversations that happen with the countries that are visiting, and it is something that is decided in that way. But there will not be a 2+2 tomorrow, as you just noted. But again, this is in coordination with the country that come to visit here at the White House. You're going to have an opportunity, or your colleagues will have an opportunity to ask questions during the pool spray of the Oval, at the Oval that happen every time a head of state visits. So that is an opportunity to be able to pose a question to the president or the head of state that is visiting the White House on that day. But again, this is coordinated. That's not true. He's answered questions.
We get yelled at.
It's not. Here's.
Shut it down when we're in the.
Shout
at us to get out.
I hear you guys. I hear you guys. Look, the 2+2 is something that is done in coordination with the country that is visiting. That is not something that is unilaterally decided. That is something that is in discussion with the other country. I was asked about the 2+2. I also was adding that there is an opportunity where press will be in the room with the two leaders. I cannot speak to who's going to take questions or who's not going to take questions. As you know, this is a president that takes shot at questions often, but the 2+2 is not a unilateral decision. It is a decision that happens with the visiting country in coordination with them. With that, guys, I'll see ya.
Wow. Have you ever heard anyone more lost than this person? There's only one person in the Biden administration more lost than this woman, and it's Joe Biden.
Himself. Yeah.
It's just incredible. This is just a series of. This woman, first of all, she has to get up there every day. This is not like what was Trump's press secretary, Kayleigh?
Yeah.
She was amazing, right? She get out there, Sarah, right? She would get out there. It was like boom, boom, boom. And then, God forbid, Trump come out there and he would just lay the law down every time. And every day, it doesn't matter. If he saw a camera or a reporter, somebody with a microphone, he would go right to that person and he would let you know what's going on. Here, the press is begging for access to the president, right? But you can't give the guy access because God only knows what he's going to say. You don't know. He may have an accident in his diaper at any point in time. You just don't know what he's going to say. And it's a disaster of an administration from beginning to end, right? From every office. You got the guy who's stealing luggage, wearing dresses, wearing lipstick. You have the health expert who's some guy wearing dresses, Rachel Levine or whatever, dude. It's just a mess. Everything they do. You have Afghanistan, it's just a mess. And of course, it goes on and on.
Yeah, I was thinking about that when I was watching this video, and I'm like, I can't remember the last time I saw Biden at one of these things.
Yeah. Well, let's get the show started. So welcome. Thank you for tuning in and for joining us. It's Jon Arguello, school board member Jon Arguello, and my good friend Tom Lord, Citizen Tom. We are here to talk about politics throughout the state of Florida, national politics, Florida politics, and of course, Central Florida politics. We are coming to you from the most corrupt county in the state of Florida, and there's a lot to talk about here locally, and there's a lot to talk about nationally. Everywhere. Politics is the game now, right?
Yeah.
A ton. So let's start off with our normal. We do a little prayer, and then we get right down to business. So let's do that. Lord, thank you so much. We just celebrated Easter with you. What a blessing it is to be able to hear and to witness your impact on our lives today, 2,000 years since you gave us the greatest gift that anyone has given anyone, and you gave that gift to the entire world. So we are grateful to you. We're also grateful to be able to enjoy all the freedoms and the opportunity to speak to the community the way that we do here and throughout our country. We are just extremely, extremely grateful. And we pray and hope that you put a spark in the butts of these national and state and local leaders to do the right thing, what the people are begging for. There's a great awakening going on, and we just pray that that awakening brings us closer, brings our nation back to you, and so that people continue to understand, like the way that they did when they founded this country, is that our rights come from you and you alone, and that you alone are the supreme decider of what those rights are, and you've given us those rights here, and we have them in our Constitution. So, as always, we are just grateful for the opportunity. So, in your Son's name, Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen.
All right. So, a ton of stuff to talk about. Where are we going to start off today?
Well, we can start off with the breaking news that came out just a couple of days ago, and it's something that I think none of us are really surprised about. The Biden White House was directly coordinated with the FBI to set up the Trump raid. And that's according to new documents that were released.
Yeah, I don't think that anybody, so we talked about that, right? It doesn't seem like anybody should be surprised by that. I think it's what we all suspected, that this is a coordinated attack by the Biden administration to try to take out the one guy that they know just finished doing a better job than they did, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a shame that really this is Banana Republic type of stuff, right? So I've seen this happen in Nicaragua, where my family's from. You know, they put everyone in jail. We saw it in Venezuela, right? There were huge protests, and what do? They put the leaders of the people who wanted to run for office in jail, and you know, I mean, it's too bad. This is like real Bush League stuff that we're doing in the United States. No one ever thought that we would ever see this, right? You would never think. We used to monitor elections around the world. Now we have to monitor our own elections. It's just a sad place.
Yeah. I mean, you know, you see the persecution that's going on in New York City right now. And now these documents, which were reported by American First Legal, which is a judicial watchdog, the records they obtained from their investigation and circumstances surrounding the Mar-a-Lago raid further confirm that the FBI obtained access to these records through a special access request from the Biden White House on behalf of the DOJ. You know, it just needs to end, you know, and everything that they're doing right now.
Well, and by end, I think we mean the Biden administration.
Yeah,
I think that they need to come to justice.
This persecution of President Trump, and it's only helping President Trump. It's not hurting him. So, I mean, you'd think that they would wisen up to this, but if they really don't want him back. But
well, here's the thing. If you don't want him back, right, the easiest way, you're in power now. Just start doing things well.
Yeah.
Start running the country in a way that makes sense, right? Why don't you bring back our economy? Stop with the woke BS that you're doing. You know, stop trying to change our kids' gender. Stop trying to just tell us, gaslight the entire country and tell them that nothing's wrong. The eggs are not $9 a dozen and so on. I mean, you can't just lie your way out of it, you know, for 4 years and expect that nobody's going to notice. We notice, and we don't like it, and we don't want it.
We've seen already with the first couple of years of the Biden administration that we need to go back to the Trump administration.
Yeah.
It's just not working out well. And I think many of us knew that already, and you know, hopefully the rest of the country has figured that out. All right, so moving on, we talked about Budweiser on the last show and what they did with trans influencer Dylan Mulvaney. Well, they are suffering because of it. It's now currently unhappy hour at Budweiser, as the distributors in the heartland and the South are completely spooked by the backlash.
Of course, they're losing money big time. What do you think is going to happen? But you know, it's not like okay. No matter the media might tell you that everyone is trans, right? Everyone is trans. Everyone is trans. Tom is trans. I'm trans. We're all trans. That's what the media is saying. No, the trans population is a tiny fraction of the country. But beer is like an American staple, right? That's like all American. And who drinks more beer than anybody else? Men.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So now you're going to gaslight men, and you're going to tell us that the guy that we want us selling beer, there's a reason that for generations they used women in bikinis to sell beer to men, right? Because that's who's drinking it. Wise up. And this lady says that she doesn't, by the way, those pictures were released of her during her frat years at Harvard.
Oh, yeah.
Right? with her with condoms in her mouth and stuff, literally like blowing up condoms, whatever, looking like a total frat kid, a sorority girl. And here she is, you know, basically crapping on the people who are drinking Bud Light, saying that we're too fratty. First of all, I was never in a fraternity. I did go to college. I was not in a fraternity. That's not me. I never drank Bud Light because I don't like to taste urine. But I do like to drink beer. I like beer. I prefer Yingling. Either way, if you're looking for a new brand, try Yingling. It's an American-owned, American-run company for now almost 200 years. They started in like 1856, pre-Civil War, I think. So around that time in the 19th century. So try Yingling, forget Bud Light. They want to crap on you. They already sell a lackluster product, but now they're going to sell that lackluster product to only trans people. Okay, good luck with that. Good luck with that. Nice way to ruin a brand.
Or switch to Sam Adams.
I think Sam Adams. Oh well, they had roll. I think Budweiser. You know what we'll do is we'll in the comments we'll drop a picture of all the brands from Anheuser-Busch that you should avoid. I think that's probably a good idea.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
you know. But they're taking a bloodbath. The CEO of Anheuser-Busch came out and had a half-hearted apology that he put out.
Well, it was apology about getting involved in anything that could cause disruption, but they never said, "Hey."
Directly
Yeah.
addressed, you know.
Okay, so are they going to cancel the that's what you want to see. If somebody changed course and they said, okay, you know what? We're an American. They're not an American company. They're owned by a Danish company, I think.
They used to be an American.
They used to be an American company. They got bought out, and now they're owned by somebody else. And so let's hope that they do the right thing at some point. And if they don't, then let them suffer. It's $6 billion
they're
to
probably
date.
sitting back hoping this is all going to blow over, and you know.
Don't let them.
Yeah.
Never drink a Bud Light again until they actually have to acknowledge what they've done. And everyone else should acknowledge what they've done too. Everybody else who's gaslighting the American people should have to acknowledge what they've done and apologize. And you know what? And all these politicians who are doing bad things, they need to go to jail. That's the stage that we're at. So we should not you should not take your foot off the gas until that has been accomplished, in my opinion.
Wow. Anyway, John, you remember we had talked about Madonna during the Grammys when we were laughing about the Grammy situation and how horrible she looked. Well, she came back up in the news, and she's desperate to return to her natural face ahead of her next world tour that's coming in.
How is she going to do that? How many babies does she need to eat to like reverse the process that she's gone into?
I don't think you can reverse that much plastic surgery, and every time you go under a knife, it gets a little bit worse.
Yeah.
So, here's a pic in case anyone forgot what Madonna looked like.
I don't think anybody can forget. I think kids are terrified. This is the stuff of nightmares right here, literally.
Look like, she looks like a horror movie character. I mean, it's
What's
sad.
the one with the clown that Saw or whatever? What Saw is the clown from Saw or whatever?
Yeah, she does.
It's terrible.
It's terrible, but I think this is a lesson for people. Just grow old gracefully. And I said that on the last show.
Yeah.
So just do that.
Well, somebody put up a picture of Roseanne Barr today next to Madonna with the caption that who would have ever guessed that Roseanne Barr would look hotter than Madonna at some point. All right, that's how bad it is. I mean, this is a pretty scary figure she's made herself into. It's gross.
It's true.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on from Madonna, everybody knows about the White House leaker and what happened there, and the White House came out. They were asking the press to downplay the leak, because they were fearing that more leaks were going to be coming. It did come out recently that who the leaker was. We do have a video talking about the leaker, so everybody watch this.
That sounds like a very timely book, Brent. Welcome.
Thank you for having me on today.
Let's start with former Director of National Intelligence John Ratcliffe. Let's play him, and then I'll get you to respond.
There's nothing heroic about this, even if you're apprising the American people about something that they weren't otherwise aware of. It's far outweighed by the damage to our national security and the lives that will be lost. The fact that I can't name the Americans and the people supporting America who will lose their lives make it no less egregious. So I would hope the consequences would be extreme and provide a deterrent effect.
What about the leaker, and what should we do?
Well, there's a couple of things on this with the leaker. One, I mean, his age is not really the issue. It's his proximity and access, which he was granted a top secret clearance. And they have to assume that the process was followed according, which means that if this individual was able to do all this, then there's probably something wrong with the way that we're screening folks. The other is the physical security of the information. There's lots of things I haven't seen, and I will not look at the classified documents that are out on the web. But what I can tell is the fact that they were photographed tells me that it might have been smuggled out or was taken to a place where you could take photographs and put forward. So there's a physical security part. And so both those questions need to be addressed by Congress.
One of the key
So let me say this about this guy. You had just mentioned it earlier. This is a 21-year-old guy. He's 20. He's an E3, which is a very low rank in the military, Air Force intelligence guy, and he snuck stuff out. And so what we just saw in that video is somebody saying, "Oh, well, you know, there's lapses in security and so on." We've had a country now for 200 and something years. You're always going to have the same lapses of security when it comes to people. There's nothing else that you can do. They already, to get top security clearance, you have to go through the background, very deep levels background. You go through the lie detector test and an interview and so on. You go through all of these processes to get to that job and to get that security clearance. But this guy has no history. He's 21 years old, right? So, I mean, and what intentions can he possibly have? You know, he's an E3 in the military working in IT. So here's the real problem that they have is that people have no respect and no faith in the government anymore. That's why. They don't believe in the mission. That's what you have to correct. If you're a congressperson, that's what you need to be talking about. It's not about what, you know, this security clear. Guys are always going to do this. We had Snowden. You had Benedict Arnold, right? You have Katzinger in New York, our Congressman Katzinger. That guy's a traitor of the first order, right? You have Eric Swalwell, who's sleeping with Chinese spies while he's on the Intelligence Committee. People are always going to fail. But what you need to have so that it doesn't happen with the consistency that is going on now with leaking is to have people that believe in the mission and the direction that we're going in. And there's not a leader in DC right now that you can name that really inspires leadership, except for Trump, right? At least people were ready to follow. Nobody's going to go and cheat on him except for some crazy guy who's trying to become a transgender person, you know? So that's the real issue there. It's not the process. It's not the security. They found out, right? They found them. So what can you have? Cameras, you can have everything there, but there's always going to be, the human element is always going to be a danger to national security or to security in a top secret environment. And if you don't have people there that believe in the mission, believe in what's going on, but you can't do that today. When you have a dementia president, right, and you have a bunch of generals that are more concerned with having drag queens in libraries at the Department of Defense Education, you know, schools, when that's their concern, nobody's going to believe in it. You're going to have always people that are going to fail.
I just look at that kid, and I say kid because
he is a kid. Yeah, he looks like he's 15.
He looks like he's 15 or 16 years old, and I don't know how you look at this person and have the faith to give this person a top secret security clearance, even though they said he's working in IT. Okay, but still, I mean, it just doesn't make much sense to me. So.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, importantly, you know, unfortunately, you need people to get you coffee in those offices and stuff. And that's, you know, I mean, that's always been the situation with the military, right? You take a kid right out of high school and you put him next, you know, you give him $20 million of equipment, and you know, and this kid has to sort it out, right? And you expect that you have that flag on your shoulder, on your shoulder, you carry the flag, you are the flagpole. But if you don't provide people with a mission, I mean, you look at the past, right? You look at Alexander the Great, you look at Napoleon. These are people that their armies followed them through thick and thin, you know, in frozen weather and everything. They would die for him. Nobody's going to die for Joe Biden, you know? I mean, you can't even keep a secret for Joe Biden. So, of course, that's the problem. And these generals are just weak. Yeah. They're weak sauce. It's sad. You know, I knew a battalion commander in Afghanistan who used to drop grenades out of helicopters. Right? That guy, I don't want to mention his name. He's a general now, but that general, people would follow him to the ends of the earth. Right? Yeah. That guy inspired leadership. We loved that guy. That guy was, we loved him. you know, and you put your heart and soul and your body, you know, and your future in his hands, and you believed in wherever he was going to take us. You believed that he loved us and that he cared about us. Joe Biden doesn't even know where he's at. I mean, that's not going to do it. And General Milley's, you know, is such a fake, two-faced guy, you know. And Austin, Secretary of Defense Austin, he's a joke. He's a joke. So, I mean, I think we spent enough time on this particular subject. All right, we've already spent 15 minutes on these guys. So,
well, we'll move on. I don't know if you noticed, but Twitter rebranded NPR's Twitter account as government-funded media.
I love this.
After some backlash.
Yeah, and, state media, right?
Yeah, government-funded media. Originally, it was U.S. state-affiliated media.
Yeah.
That was the label. And, you know...
But they are. They are. I don't know why he changed that. I don't think they should have changed it.
You know what it was is that he was widely criticized for giving NPR
but by who?
Designation. By, you know.
Yeah, by who? Look at the people who are complaining about it. Everybody else laughed. First of all, we've talked about NPR on the show before. I sent them like I think $300 a long time ago when I was a college student. I cared. That was a ton of money for me. But you know, I loved NPR and I listened to NPR at that time. And man, how far from the truth can you go? These guys are just a terrible organization, terrible news organization. Yeah. I thought it was great.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, this is what it used to look like, and that's what it looks like now.
Yeah, that's phenomenal.
And that was the big deal that people were making. You know, whoever these people are, that you know, they had this title, U.S. state-affiliated media.
You can't argue with the truth.
So Elon went ahead and changed it, and he changed it to government-funded. So,
yeah.
And he ain't wrong. He ain't wrong.
Well, I mean, government funded is one thing, but that doesn't. So here's the thing. This is what I don't like about the switch. I love the fact that he added it there, right?
Yeah.
Government funded doesn't describe what they do. Right. Government funded describes how they survive, right? Government affiliated describes what they do. So when you're talking, when did they change government funded with Russia News Today? Like Russia Today is their news, right? Or the Iranian, you know, news press corps or whatever. I mean, if they're not doing it for them, why change that? They got what they deserve. You get what you deserve. You get the reputation that you deserve, and that's the reputation that they've created.
But you know, at the end of the day, you can please some of the people some of the time, but you're not going to please all the people all the time.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
You know.
But I'm glad it's there. I'm glad it's there. It's still embarrassing for them as a news organization, and they deserve it.
Absolutely. All right, so we'll move on to a few more national stories that are out there.
Excuse me.
I guess we could start off with John Bolton. Everybody remember John Bolton?
Oh, John Bolton is I can't imagine myself saying this 20 years ago, but I think I like the other John Bolton who sings and has long hair more than I like this John Bolton. You know, I like this John Bolton's mustache more than I like the rest of John Bolton in the entire picture because he's a neocon, a worthless neocon, warmonger, yeah. And nothing would. I mean, this is the guy. If he were president, we would be in another war. There's no doubt about it. We would be in another war. We would be at war with North Korea. We would be at war with China. He thinks that he's Napoleon himself. He's no Napoleon.
Yeah, no, he's not. And we have a video of him and what he had to say. He was out there. He was on Face the Nation.
Yeah, let's check it out. Check out the video.
He wanted to warn Republicans. So here's his warning.
Good to have you here.
Glad to be back.
So as we were just discussing, Republicans seem to be avoiding explicitly defending Mr. Trump's actions and instead attacking the district attorney of Manhattan. But we don't know the details of these charges. We won't until Tuesday, if then. Don't you see there being a danger for Republicans to do that because they are still aligning themselves with the former president, who I know you are sharply critical of?
Yeah, I think it's a big mistake politically for Republicans to do that. And I think it's important to stress that in this case that involves hush money to a porn star to cover up an affair that later involves cooking his company's books, you have not heard a single Trump defender stand up and say, oh, that's not the Donald Trump I know. And it goes to the question of character and fitness for the presidency. I think that Trump's obviously trying to attack the prosecutor, and his supporters are following that. Look, prosecutors have broad discretion, and they should But they don't have unlimited discretion. If Trump thinks there's prosecutorial misconduct here, violating the laws, violating the prosecutor or lawyer's ethical obligations, he has plenty of opportunities to raise that. But if he can't show that Alvin Bragg has violated the law or violated the ethics rules that are applicable, then he's got to run his own chances. And to my mind, there is a kind of rough justice here, because it's deeply ironic that a person who spent a good part of his 4 years in the White House trying to weaponize the Justice Department against his political enemies is now saying he's the victim of persecution. It's sort of what comes around goes around, Mr. Trump.
So you agree that the Justice Department was weaponized under the Trump administration?
I can attest to it personally. I don't need to look at other stories.
What do you mean by that?
Well, when Trump and his lawyers in the White House and in the Justice Department brought both a civil and a criminal case against me for publishing a book.
All right, we'll pause that for a second here. So here's the thing about this guy. Number one, to say that they came after you, right? You got to have proof. There's, first of all, Alvin Bragg and the President of the United States complaining to you about what your actions are, which I think that you elaborate on in a minute, right? It's worlds apart. It's worlds apart. This guy is such an egomaniac, right? It might be the only thing bigger than his mustache is his ego. His ego combs his mustache and more. In fact, that's his ego is what grows that mustache. It's not his body, his physical body. This is an absolute. It's absurd to think. John. Everybody knows this guy.
Yeah.
If you have followed politics, you know who John Bolton is. He got so mad that they didn't do what he said, what he had advised, that he blew up under Trump, right? Yeah, the guy's intelligent. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he's not intelligent. The guy's a great, but you have to have, this is why you need a spectrum of leadership in your cabinet, right? Like you need somebody on the right, somebody on the left, somebody in the middle, somebody in the middle, somebody right in the center. You know, I mean, because this guy is ridiculous. So anyways, let's play the video. Continue with the video, sorry.
That didn't go through the pre-publication review process when they know that it had been cleared in the regular order, that is abusing the Justice Department, and there are plenty of other examples beside.
You know, he's a liar, number one. You know, I remember Secretary of State Mike Pompeo coming out and saying that he was leaking all the time.
Yeah.
They had to keep him out of meetings. Matter of fact, we have a reel that will go up tomorrow morning that'll illustrate that and show what a liar John Bolton is.
This guy is number one, he's a liar. Yeah, you said it, he's a liar, right? He's a smart guy, but certainly this guy is a liar. He lied about a lot of things, but the most important of which, the really thing that gets me, is the fact that he was lying about foreign policy, right? He was trying to get the public on his side. He was trying to be the guy that took down Trump with his lies, right? And for that, he should be tarred and feathered and thrown out in the field. It's just, he lied to the American people. He tried to be the guy that took out Trump. He leaked documents. So we're talking about that 21-year-old earlier, right, who leaked documents. Why isn't this guy in jail?
Yeah.
Why isn't this guy in jail for why are all of
He should be,
how many memes have we seen so far that said the only document that is secure in DC is Epstein's client list? You know, I mean,
it's true though.
It's true. It's true. It's the only thing, right? We can't get access to this client list. That's what we should be seeing. I'm not interested in seeing. I don't know what this kid. I didn't look at the documents or anything like that, but a lot of people should be in jail for leaking. They leaked. What about the Supreme Court decision that got leaked on Roe versus Wade? Right, that got leaked. Anybody go to jail for that? No. This poor 21-year-old is going to get the book thrown at him as the example when all of these lifetime bureaucrats and politicians and public officials get away scot-free.
Yeah.
It's just total injustice.
Yeah. So please don't pay any attention to John Bolton.
Well, pay attention, as a comedy figure. I mean, that's how you pay attention to him. You have to let him know that he's not the guy that's going to take down Trump or anybody else because he's a fraud.
Yeah. And I wonder what happened to his arm. He was in a sling.
No, I didn't see it. I don't know. It might have been twisted by the establishment of the deep state. And this guy is a deep state guy because this isn't the same tune that he was singing. Right, when the indictment on Trump came out, he was like, I fear that this was not as strong as I thought it was." Yeah. And now he's saying, "Oh well, it is. This is a good case, and Trump shouldn't be complaining." And what? Come on, man. Yeah. What happened? I mean, obviously it might have something to do with his arm.
Yeah. They twisted his arm and should go on Face the Nation, but I don't think they had to twist it too hard.
No.
So anyway, we were talking about AOC on the last show. So she's back in the news, and it's
AOC, I love her. I love her. I love her. This is a person who gives Republicans such a caricature of what the Democrats are, right? She's everything. You couldn't, if you have like all the political cartoonists come and draw pictures, they're basically drawing AOC, right? That's what they want you to imagine, but she's that in real life. We have a video of her, right?
We have a video.
Let's see this video.
That she was on CNN, so watch this.
Was something that you called on the Biden administration to do, which is just to simply ignore the court ruling. That's a pretty stunning position if you think about it in the abstract, about the notion of just ignoring a judge's position. So my question is, when this case is resolved by the Supreme Court, should the administration follow that decision if that decision ends up banning this abortion drug?
Well, you know, I want to take a step back and dig into the grounds around ignoring this preliminary ruling as well. There is an extraordinary amount of precedent for this. There is a term known as agency non-acquiescence. And this has been used and for folks saying this is a first, that this is a precedent setting. It is not. The courts rely on the legitimacy of their rulings. And when they make a mockery of our system, a mockery of our democracy, and a mockery of our law, as what we just saw happen in this mifepristone ruling, then I believe that the executive branch, and we know that the executive branch has an enforcement discretion, especially in light of a contradicting ruling coming out of Washington.
Should that apply if the Supreme Court upholds the Texas judge's decision?
You know, I think one of the things that we need to examine is the grounds of that ruling. But I do not believe that the courts have the authority to have the authority over the FDA that they just.
So this.
Oh my God! Oh my God! This is somebody. Okay, so she has a degree in economics, and we know she doesn't know boots about economics, right? She did not go to law school. She knows even less about the law. She is a congressperson. You would think that she has some kind of familiarity with our Constitution. And there's a separation of powers. You can't disregard what the courts say. I mean, that's just, we have the balance, the checks and balances for a purpose. And she wants to disregard that. First of all, to the Joe Biden administration, she's probably looked at as a genius. Oh, yeah, we can break the law. This is exactly the kind of loophole that we've been looking for, is just to ignore the law completely. Yeah. I mean, they're the judicial branch.
Isn't that the liberal playbook?
Well, I mean, that's what they've been doing all along, right? This is just incredible. But hey, I wanted to give a shout out to the guys, some of the people who are watching here. Mark Peters, hey, the Lion of Poinciana. I appreciate you so much. Eric makes a comment, says, hey, if Trump had just shut the F up, that we would, maybe he'd still be in office. Maybe, but that's not good enough, right? You shouldn't have to change that type of situation in order to stay the president. Nobody should steal an election from you, number one. And number two, the things that are being said are pretty important. If you did not vote for Trump because of his mean tweets, I hope that you're enjoying that $4 gas. You know, I hope that you're enjoying those $9 eggs and the $6 gallon of milk. Half of you aren't even on Twitter. The people are complaining about Twitter. You know what? I went to a conference and they had an entire set of books, right, of Trump tweets. And I was looking through them and I was laughing so hard. They were so funny. But if that's what's important to you, then my goodness, I mean, come on.
If that's all that matters to you is how his personality or how mean he is or his tweets and things like that, at the end of the day, those things don't really matter. What matters is the results that he gets. And
I mean, an economy where we're at the top.
Say that you're better off right now.
We were beating China. Yeah, we were shrinking China's economy and growing ours. You know, foreign policy. I'm a foreign policy guy. That's my favorite thing to study. I mean, come on. We were on top. People were paying their dues back into NATO stuff. Nobody ever thought that they would ever do that, and they were. I mean, come on. It's ridiculous. But I kind of forgot where Mark, let me continue giving these shout outs. Dak Johnson, thank you for watching. Angela Matter, thank you. James Smith, thank you guys. Thank you guys for watching very much. I appreciate you. Chris Osceola, Chris with CCDF, thank you for all the things that you guys are doing at CCDF. I appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so, I mean, this is the biggest joke, and it's basically throwing away our Constitution, which is exactly what they want to do.
Yeah,
it's exactly what they want to do.
Over this abortion pill, whatever it's called, I don't even know what to say to her. She's just always good for a laugh.
She's crazy.
She's crazy.
She's just a kid. She acts like a kid. She speaks like a child. She doesn't have any sophistication in her policy mindset. It's just all jokes. It's just, these kids go into college and they take a politics 101, and then they start using the word fascist as for everything. Hey, good morning, fascist. How are you, fascist? How are you? Hey, fascist. There was an old movie, a Chevy Chase movie with Dan Aykroyd called Spies Like Us. Did you ever watch it?
That. Yeah.
Well, when they're pretending to be doctors, and it's like, hello, doctor, right? And they're like 4 doctors, and they're all, hey, Doctor so and so, hello. That's what they're like, except they use the word fascist, and that's what they like to do. It's ridiculous. There's no depth to it.
No, not at all. All right, so moving on from AOC, state of Washington. I don't know what's going on in the Northwest. It's almost like
yeah, it's terrible. This is some of the most beautiful parts of the country that they're ruining. I mean, in parts of the Northwest, they want to secede from their states and they want to join Idaho to make the greater state of Idaho, and it's actually picked up a lot of traction. Man, I would really love to see that.
Well, here in Washington State, the Senate has passed a bill banning production, sale, and importing of assault weapons.
Yeah.
But not only that, the state of Washington has also passed legislation that if you try to talk your child out of transitioning, that they can take the child away from the parent.
Yeah. And they have all kinds of secrecy laws on the books, too, that prevent people from telling parents what's going on. Yeah. Listen, this is why people are leaving those states in droves, right? Nobody wants to be under that kind of government. Even if you're a liberal, I love Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders is the best. His economic policy, all we need is Bernie Sanders to be president and communism will work again. No, it'll never work, okay? But even those people who are still believers in the socialist America at some point, they don't want their kids to be taken away from them, right? And it hits everybody. You see all this with Hollywood, right? Every time, they're big cancel people, and then all of a sudden you see a blackface, skate with them, and then all of a sudden they're being canceled, and they're like, oh, but not me. Yeah. I'm down with the movement, Right. It's crazy. I mean, you get what you deserve.
Yeah.
I think you said it earlier. You get what you vote for, and that's what they're getting there. I mean, so let them. It's only going to get worse and worse and worse.
Like each one of those Northwest states is trying to outdo each other on how liberal they can be and how far to the left they can go.
And this is why the court is so important, because a situation like that where they are moving to the left no matter what, the Supreme Court is going to put them right back on path, because there's no way that they can usurp the Second Amendment. Right, so hopefully that they do that. Ban manufacturing. Of course, they're going to ban you manufacturing jobs. How crazy is that? I don't know who's building weapons in the Northeast, Pacific Northwest. But I mean, why would you want to? You can't have a company there. No. You're going to get shut down. If somebody catches a cold, they're going to shut down the entire state.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
All right, so you remember last show we talked about Riley Gaines and what happened to her. She was accosted.
Yeah, viciously attacked.
Yeah, well, she came back out. She was on Tucker Carlson talking about this issue. We do have the video and talking about what happened to her. So watch this.
Horrifying as it looked?
I mean, it was terrifying. The police did not inform me of any sort of action plan. Turning Point USA invited me to the campus. I delivered a very civil and respectful speech where I had great dialogue with even protesters who were participating in a sit-in. All of a sudden, after my speech, the room was stormed. The lights were turned off, and I was rushed with no one there to escort me to a safe place. I was punched. I was hit multiple times. I was shoved until finally we exited the room. But we could not leave because the protesters flooded the halls, and so I was pushed into a classroom along that hallway where I was barricaded in for 3 hours.
3 hours? Why didn't someone with a gun come and bring you to safety?
Because they were terrified. They were scared to put their hands on these people because they know what these people are capable of. These people yelled obscene, violent, vulgar things to both myself and the officers, I could tell, didn't feel comfortable putting them in a position that would mean they do their job, which is a really scary, chilling thought.
This is the most dangerous extremist movement in the United States right now. It's getting bigger, not smaller. It's gaining steam, not losing it. The White House has endorsed it. I mean, what does this mean for you? And I just can't say it again since I happen to know you. You are an inherently moderate person who means harm to no one. But are you worried about your safety going forward?
You know, I am worried about my safety. I have to be now. When we have people who are willing to do this, and we know why they're willing to do this, it's because they don't have reason, they don't have logic, they don't have science, they don't have common sense on their side. That's on my side. And so they protrude by violence, whether it's physical or verbal violence. But what this means for me, this does not deter me. This assures me that I am doing the right thing. This will not silence me when they want me to be silenced. It just means I need to speak louder.
Really quick, did anyone in the state of California in authority, any political figure, for example, defend you?
No, not the dean of students, not the campus police. I will say the city of San Francisco police that stepped in, they did a phenomenal job in escorting 3 hours later. But I will be pursuing legal action. I will ensure that the people who physically assaulted me, the people who put me in that position, they will face repercussions.
Yeah, I mean, if we can't identify that as evil, then we've really lost the thread. Riley Gaines, I'm glad you're still here, and
Absolutely.
Godspeed. Thank you.
Oh, wow. You know, first of all, where are we at when you have men wearing dresses hitting women, right? I mean, that's okay. This guy, there was a guy who punched her in the back of the head. That guy should have been arrested, handcuffed, beaten silly, thrown into a tank, and let it face charges. Of course, there's no charges. They're not in these states. They're not, you know. I think this was in San Francisco, wasn't it, that happened? Yeah. So San Francisco is probably the worst place in the world right now. You actually have to have an app that tells you where people are defecating on the street so that you can avoid it in San Francisco. I'm not even joking. That's actually fact. You know, like, no joke, folks. Like Biden says, no joke. So it's crazy that would happen, you know? And this used to be a peaceful place. Nobody can ever say that San Francisco was unsafe for gay people or trans people or anybody of any type, any kind of sexual orientation or orientation of any type, of any nature, right? San Francisco was the most accepting place in the world for anyone to be as crazy as you want to be, right? And it was nice and great. That's where I was born. You know, I mean, and now look at it. It's really turned into a hole, an S-hole, as you know, as Trump says. So,
yeah,
it's just crazy. I mean, I can't believe it.
People defecating on the streets, it absolutely is.
Yeah, it's horrendous. It really is what's happened to California in general. Yeah. One of the most beautiful states, you know, just an amazing state, amazing potential for everything, economics for everything. And just, I used to be really proud to be from California. When I was a kid and I moved here, I used to say, Florida's not as good as California. I can't even imagine living in California today. You know, thank God I live in Florida. Thank God I live in Florida. Thank God that we had Ron DeSantis during COVID. Yes. You know, I mean, thank God. It's just, it's really horrendous.
Yeah. So, God bless her though for going out there and you know,
absolutely.
For women's rights in sports, which doesn't exist anymore. So.
You know, here's the thing. I posted something on this on my Facebook page, on my school board member page, school board member Arguello, the UNsanctioned page, and it just shows, you know, like the rise of white men is only about ones that dress up like women and wear wigs, you know, and makeup. So if you're a white male and you want to achieve anything and you want to be celebrated today, because if you're a straight white guy, you're not allowed to say anything. You're not allowed to be to celebrate anything. You're not allowed to be cool. You're not allowed to have any success, right? Otherwise, it's white privilege. But if you're a white guy, and you put on a wig and makeup, then my God, you can be president of the United States.
Breasts,
Yeah.
A rainbow, and you're good to go. All right, so President Trump, he appeared at a UFC event.
Yeah, this is great. Great.
And, the UFC crowd, when President Trump came in, President Trump was with Dana White, who's the president of the UFC. He was with Kid Rock, Mike Tyson, and when President Trump came in, the crowd stood up and was chanting and cheering and chanting USA.
Yeah.
Now, I do have a little bit of video from this, but it's from people's phones, so it's not that great. But anyway, watch this.
Inspires people to love their country and reminisce of the days when the United States was like the greatest place where everybody's cloaked themselves in the American flag. And that's what he wants. That's what he wants for this country. Nobody can deny it. I've told this story many times. My dad, who was an immigrant to the United States, never got his United States citizenship, was never involved in politics whatsoever, never spoke to me about politics except to tell me that politicians are crooks, right? Was a big Trump fan, and I had to ask my dad, Dad, why are you a Trump fan? What is it with you and Trump? Why is it, he started watching Tucker every night and everything, right? And I was like, what's this? Why your sudden interest in? And he just said, I know that this guy loves his country, and my kids are Americans. He was talking about not just his kids, but also his grandkids. We're all Americans, and that's what he wants, right? Like he wants our, and that's what you are. That's like the true American thing, right? You want your kids to be good and successful, and to have a country that they can believe in, and so on. And there's nobody probably who knows better how other countries fail in that respect than somebody like my dad, right? Who came here escaping a dictator, So it's just that's why people will cheer for him, and why people are chanting "F Joe Biden" and "Let's go Brandon,"
Exactly.
whenever Brandon shows his face. So
it was great when Trump was coming into the arena. They played Kid Rock's "American Badass," and that was just great. I wish they had put that on TV.
Yeah.
That would have been amazing. But all right, so this is something. If you were ever wondering why certain companies are pushing the LGBTQ agenda, okay, we're going to talk a little bit about that. So there is a system. It's called CEI. All right, and that's the Corporate Equality Index. All right. So this is what's at stake for these companies when they don't push people like Dylan Mulvaney or put rainbows on their products and stuff like that. Basically, the CEI index is overseen by the HRC, which is the Human Rights Campaign. It's a political lobbying group. It's the largest one for the LGBTQ agenda in the world. And it's received millions of dollars from George Soros. And this is what they're looking at. So when you see like folks like Dylan Mulvaney and others being pushed, RuPaul, on these businesses, on their products and stuff like that, it is so that they can attain the maximum total points for, the best place to work for the LGBTQ and equality movement among these companies.
Yeah,
So
it's essentially that your social credit score, right?
Right.
That they're trying to give to American citizens. You know how they want you to have this social credit score, not a financial credit score, but this social score that tells you what kind of person you are. Like, are you supportive of trans rights? Are you want this? Do you speak against the government? And they're going to give you a score. I think you and I might fail that. If that happens, you and I are screwed. But anyways, this is the same thing for corporate America, where these people will come down and they will attack your company and make it seem like you guys are a really bad company for the whole woke movement, right? And that's what it's about. It's about pushing woke movements in corporations. And they're not trying to just make everybody happy. I mean, this whole word about exclusivity, right? Inclusivity. It's not about inclusivity. It's about dominance. They want this movement to dominate the American landscape. They don't want to be included. They want to dominate. They want to control. They want to take over. That's what they want. This is a political thing where it brings chaos to the country, and then it makes everybody else have to follow. You have to play along. That's what they're trying to do. And so we have a video. Is that what we got?
No, we don't have a video of that. But what was the picture I had? Oh, it was George Soros.
Yeah. So George. So this, this guy. I mean, that's worse than a video. Any video that we could put up there.
It's just
this guy's not even alone in his own country.
Yeah. Which one's scarier?
This is what Madonna looks like underneath those carcasses that she puts on her face.
But this is the man right here that is funding all this crap. Not only that, but he funds all the major Democrat campaigns throughout the country.
Especially AGs, right?
Yeah.
Like Monique Worrell here in Central Florida, who is really, we had a Democrat sheriff come out and speak against her and say that she's not prosecuting the drug dealers, right? So they keep arresting them and putting these crooks in her hands, and she keeps letting them free, right? So yeah, but anyway,
Tony the Emperor.
So it's kind of a this whole social credit score is really the demise of the American business. No longer can you just make a good product and mind your own business. Now, if you don't actively promote this agenda, which is, if you're a Christian and you're a company owner, you're a business owner, then this goes completely against you. You're automatically being punished as a company for this.
Yeah.
And that's just not something that we can scan.
This is the same thing they do with the citizens in China. And
it's
they eventually probably want to bring it here too and impose that upon us as citizens, which is disastrous. I mean,
yeah, it's horrendous. Hi, Cynthia. Thank you for joining. So yeah, let's.
So also in the news is Soros' son, and it was just came out in the news that he has unprecedented access to the White House, according to records.
Yeah.
If you've never seen Alexander Soros, which is George Soros' son, that's him there with President Barack Obama. And, he's basically a de facto White House ambassador at this point. He's at least 14 visits there on behalf of, the far left kingmaker, which is his father. And, you gotta.
And the guy standing here in the picture with him is the current president of the United States. The guy who's running the show behind what's that name of that movie?
In the basement.
In his sweats, exactly. So.
But you got to ask yourself, why is Alexander Soros at the White House as often as he is? It's unclear what's been discussed in these meetings that he's having at the White House, but I guess we can only imagine.
Soros has basically stated that he will spend every dime of his fortune, and he's a billionaire many times over. He will spend his entire fortune for these causes. And his son, like everybody was thinking at first, you heard a lot of Republicans say, well, this guy's not going to be around forever, thank God. But they're saying that his son is even worse than he is in terms of his policy and thoughts on the world. So if you were basically created in a lab the way that he was on behalf of George Soros probably made a clone of himself as a son, and then fed him all this garbage about our country. Well, that's what you get.
I just find it very troubling that he has such access and he's having all these meetings at the White House, especially when his family has already done so much damage to our country.
Well, not only to our country, to all of Europe as well, right? Like, he's not even welcome. The guy is Hungarian. He's not even allowed in Hungary anymore. They banned him from Hungary. So when somebody gets banned from their own country, they're bad news, right? Like, this guy should not be in the United States. He should also, I don't know if he's actually a citizen of the United States, but certainly he should have his citizenship revoked and he should be cast off. And he's too old to be tarred and feathered, like I always love to say, but cast off on a little boat and sent to, I don't know, Elba or whatever.
Send him to China. I think he'd fit in well there.
No, well, yeah, that's true. He would love China. He would love what China does to its citizens. Maybe not living there.
Yeah, absolutely. So speaking of China, let me see if I can.
China.
Oh, where is it? I'm gonna save that. Pull that up. It's probably gonna come.
This is a crazy story. This is a crazy story. Again, we never thought that we would be here, right? But here we are. This is the most confusing thing.
And it's really big on the screen. Sorry, guys.
China says it hopes and believes Germany will support its peaceful transition, unification with Taiwan. So let me make something very clear for anybody if you guys don't follow this or if you don't follow Taiwan. Taiwan has absolutely zero intention to be part of the People's Republic of China, right?
It's not something they want.
They don't want to be part of China. These are two basically lateral governments, of the China, right? They both consider themselves the proper government of China. Taiwan, the United States has had relationships with for decades, right? Ever since they did split up, they were nationalist China. And the People's Republic of China, the Communist of China. China says that they are one China. They have a one China policy. They both agree on that. Neither of them can agree on which government system. So if China were to agree to become a democracy like Taiwan's is, right? Relative democracy, then maybe they can go back together. Otherwise, Taiwan's not going to go to China and be, it would take although I'm surprised they haven't tried to bribe all the Taiwanese politicians, right? The way that they've bribed our American Eric Swalwell. I mean, I'm sure that they can. Why don't they just send their female spies to go sleep with the Taiwanese government officials the way that they did with Eric Swalwell?
Yeah, I think the Taiwanese are onto China, and they're not.
Exactly. They live a little too close across the strait there. But the point being that the fact that China would go to Germany and then announce that Germany is going to support this peaceful reunification. First of all, there can be no peaceful reunification, right? And if they did, who would care? Nobody cares. Right. If they're peacefully reunifying, who cares?
That's something that the Taiwanese people wanted, and no one would care.
They're not talking about a peaceful reunification. They're talking about forced reunification, and that Germany would support them over. And then we also have people like France. Macron saying that they should no longer be hand in hand with the United States with their foreign policy, that they should be with China. Are you kidding me? What is going on? All in 2 years. Yeah. All in 2 years. 2 years ago, Trump was forcing these countries to pay their responsible ties, so to speak, to NATO. Now they're going to leave NATO, or they're going to abandon NATO, and they're going to go make deals with China? And they're leaving the dollar as the standard for paying their bills? I mean, come on. This is crazy what's going on.
This is what weak leadership produces.
This is what weak leadership produces, absolutely. It's crazy. That's incredibly harmful.
So, we talked a little bit earlier about Elon and what he did with NPR. But we also alluded to this fight, or it wasn't really a fight. He called out a BBC reporter. It was actually pretty funny.
This is such a great video.
Huge fan of Elon right now. I didn't put the whole video. It runs about 4 minutes long, but I did put a little bit of it. So
it's almost worth watching the 4 minutes because, man, I'll tell you what. There's a lot of things about Elon that I don't like, but there's also some amazing thing that he does. He's a man of integrity. Whether you agree with him or not, whether or not we believe in the same things, he is a man of integrity. That speaks volumes. I guess it's easy to have a lot of integrity when you got billions and billions and billions of dollars. You can say whatever you want to anybody you want. But I'm glad that he does it because Bill Gates doesn't, right? Yeah. He's a piece of garbage. So, but let's see the video.
All right, here it is.
That used to be in content moderation, and we've spoken to people very recently who were involved in moderation, and they just say there's not enough people to police this stuff, particularly around hate speech in the company. Is that
what hate speech are you talking about? I mean, you use Twitter,
right?
Do you see a rise in hate speech?
I mean,
but just a personal anecdote. Like, what do you? I don't.
Personally, for you, I would see I get more of that kind of content. Yeah, personally, but I'm not going to talk to the rest of for the rest of Twitter.
So you see more hate speech personally?
I would say I would see more hateful content in that.
Content you don't like or hateful? What do you mean to describe a hateful thing?
Yeah, I mean, just content that will solicit a reaction, something that may include something that is slightly racist or slightly sexist, those kinds of things.
So you think if something is slightly sexist, it should be banned?
No,
is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying anything. I'm
just curious. I'm trying to understand what you mean by hateful content. And I'm asking for specific examples. And you just said that if something is slightly sexist, that's hateful content. Does that mean that it should be banned?
Well, you've asked me whether my feed, whether it's got less or more. I'd say it's got slightly more.
That's why I'm asking for examples. Can you name one example?
I honestly don't use. Honestly, I
don't. You can't name a single example.
I'll tell you why. Because I don't actually use that for you feed anymore. Because I just don't particularly like it.
But you
and
said
actually, a lot of people are quite similar. I only look at
hang on a second.
my
You said you've seen more hateful content, but you can't name a single example, not even one.
I'm not sure I've used that feed for the last 3 or 4 weeks. And
then how did you see that hateful content?
Because I've been using Twitter since you've taken it over for the last 6 months.
Okay, so then you must have at some point seen for you hateful content. I'm asking for one example.
Right.
And you can't give a single one.
And I'm saying
then I say, sir, that you don't know what you're talking about.
Really?
Yes, because you can't give me a single example of hateful content, not even one tweet, and yet you claimed that the hateful content was high.
Well,
that's false.
No, what I claimed...
You just lied.
What I claimed was there are many organizations that say that kind of information is on the rise. Now, whether it has on my feed or not... I mean, right, and
literally
you can look at something
one.
like the strategic dialogue.
Guy, so he catches the guy lying here, right? The guy says, oh, well, in mine. He's like, no, anecdotally, what is your story? What do you think? Yes, I have seen more hateful things. Okay, what's hateful? Well, sexist or whatever. So sexist, slightly sexist. So we should ban slightly sexist. The guy's like, well, I don't know. I have, seen. He's like, just give me an example then. What do you say? And the guy can't deliver an example because he's full of crap, and so here he is. The best part of the video is when he starts talking about the BBC. This is why we can't trust the BBC. Right. Because you're liars. You're lying right here on camera during the interview. You're lying. You can't tell the truth. Yeah, so if you can't tell the truth, why should we trust the media? That's the most important thing that he basically said. You can't trust any of these people. No. And then he talks about you can't trust them on their misinformation, because he's talking about Twitter having more misinformation, right? Also, and he's like, well, what about you guys? He's like, the BBC what about all your misinformation on COVID? Yeah. And yeah, they have to own up. He wants to deny it, but the guy can't. He stumbles all over his words. He basically outs himself as a huge liar. Man, this was a great interview, and this is like Trump, except much nicer. Yeah. He basically calls them out too, right? Yeah. But here's the thing: the difference is that Elon Musk is a business guy, billionaire who's had enough right now. But nobody's really attacking Elon Musk, right? He was loved by everybody, and he's still loved by many people. Crazy liberals are still driving Teslas, and that's his priority, right?
He's still launching rockets. One's going to go up tomorrow.
Yeah, they didn't try to put him in jail. They haven't tried to, they haven't said all kinds of nasty things about his family and his wife and his kids and the barrage. So maybe the guy's a little bit more eloquent than Trump on the delivery of, his Trump could maybe learn a lesson from this. But Trump has his own style. To expect him to have a style of someone else is just, he doesn't
Trump
need to.
grew up in New York City.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, there's going to be a big difference there.
Yeah, that's a good point.
All right, so we're going to move on to the state of Florida.
The beautiful free state of Florida. Thank God. Thank God we live in the state of Florida. There's a lot of cool things about Florida. There's also some not so great things. I'd say one of the least great things about Florida is probably Nikki Fried. But aside from that, Nikki Fried, who's the chairwoman of the Democratic Party, who got arrested recently, she's a crazy person, man. She's crazy.
That was just a political stunt.
Just a stunt. That's all it is. She's trying to remain relevant. Yeah. They're getting the pants beat off of them. And, in terms of registrations and everything else, even here in Osceola, we're on the upside in terms of growth. And Osceola is a tremendously lean left county that voted for DeSantis recently. wow, I mean,
it's hard for the Democratic Party to stay relevant in the free state of Florida, but I guess, you have to get yourself arrested and get on the news, and that's one way to do it, I guess.
That's one way to do it, yep.
Or you could go like Maxwell Frost here. We haven't really talked about Mr. Frost too much, but he was in the news recently. He garnered the support of Orlando Mayor Buddy Dyer for his bill to create a federal gun violence office.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the one thing that we need now is another government office to do the exact same thing that already 20 government offices are doing. Good job, Maxwell. Good job.
This is what you get with left-wing politicians. If there's a problem, we'll create a new government office to solve it.
Well, the thing is, this kid doesn't. He listen. It's easy being a young guy of color, right? Is like the sexy new thing. So they vote for this guy. Buddy Dyer is an old, washed up, used up old sock, right? And he's basically living vicariously through Maxwell Frost now. That's why his involvement is. But if Buddy Dyer was doing the right thing, he would be preventing pastors from getting arrested in the street in downtown Orlando. That's what he should really be focused on, instead of trying to set up another government, trying to be relevant by standing next to the new sexy guy in town.
Right.
And that's all that is. But Maxwell Frost is an ignorant kid who knows nothing about government or anything else. He's just a community activist. He's an up-and-coming guy because he's young. That's it.
Yeah. Never forget,
but he's got no fresh ideas.
What he did before, which was bring Black Lives Matter to St. Cloud and tried to have a protest in the middle of the streets of St. Cloud. I'll never forget him for that. And I find him to be a very dangerous politician. He reminds me of somebody from Chicago who ended up becoming president. So,
well, that's a great parallel, because that's the only requirement, right? That you can put two words together. I guess it's not a requirement for the guy right now, but that's what the hope is, right? That you can put two words together, and then you have to be a person of color, right? But I don't know if you've noticed, the Democratic Party doesn't really support that many people of color, right? I mean, in the end, it's really all about white guys. Look at the guy who's in the office now, and he can't put two words together. I guess the standard is lowered for white guys in the Democratic Party because he can't even speak. So, I don't know. Maxwell Frost is just kind of like a waste of time. He's like an Alan Grayson.
Yeah.
Remember Alan Grayson, right? He was the big, loud guy fight. He's like, Alan Grayson is the original AOC. Yeah. And then AOC begets Maxwell Frost, right? And so it's all these people, but their ideas are short on knowledge, and they're short on experience, and they're short on brain cells, and they're very, very, their cup runneth over with fascism, with the word fascism. That's about all. It's just silliness.
Yeah, I agree. So we'll move on from Maxwell. Governor DeSantis, he came out and he said that he'll kill the Reedy Creek deal and consider hotel tax and tolls for Disney World.
Oof. So listen, this is a big deal for Floridians, right? Yeah. This is across Central Florida. 3 of the people who are on this new board are in Tampa, right? In West Florida. And the reason that that's important is I've never seen Mickey look any better than this image. The reason that that's important is because now it's a whole Central Florida issue. You got the West Coast, you got Central Florida, you got Osceola, you got Orange, and all the counties in between. Now it's a big issue. Now, so they spit in DeSantis' face, right? The committee, the board, prior to being taken over by the new members, they basically gave Disney all of these unlimited powers to do whatever they wanted. Now DeSantis has to fight back. Otherwise, he's going to have this big loss coming into a presidential primary if he decides to run. It's one of the black marks on his policy thing where they weren't prepared for this, right? And they got outmaneuvered. So Disney World is a gigantic corporation. It's a gigantic corporation. They felt strong enough and in position where they can take on DeSantis. I think that you're going to lose in the end because DeSantis is, this is the state of Florida. And the people are not with Disney. I know Disney believes that they might be. But listen, the citizens of Florida are not in favor of Disney, in my opinion. Even in the left-leaning Osceola County, left-leaning Orange County, that's not a good representation of how people feel about Disney, you know? And so Disney's making so many missteps, which you can see in their bottom line, which is why they're laying people off. This is a big mistake, and I think that DeSantis is going to come at you. If you start this fight, DeSantis is going to come after you, and you're going to pay in the end, because in the end, he has a supermajority in the House, right? They can make whatever laws they want. They can make the Disney law that says that you're going to do X, Y, and Z, and you're going to get punished for it. And however much money you have, in the end, when you control the House, all right, you have a supermajority in the House, you're gonna get your way. Yeah. I think it's a real bad move for Disney to do this.
Yeah, absolutely.
To have done what they did.
Yeah. So moving on from that, the Florida Senate has voted to punish businesses that let children into drag shows. And we were talking about, drag show. I guess you were on the other show, but yeah, they went ahead and voted for this. So any business that lets a child into a drag show.
So we have kind of like an issue here in Osceola County. We had a business reach out to us and talk to us about this and whatever. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to have a show dedicated to this topic at a later point here in the near future. And in that show, we're going to have some of these performers on. We're going to discuss the issue in a very respectful, two-way conversation where they can advocate their beliefs and tell us what it is, and we can talk about our concerns, and we'll take calls and whatever. But again, this has to be done in a respectful, in a mutually beneficial way where people can feel heard, and it's not about attacking anybody. It's not about hurting our local businesses. It's not about going American against American. This is about having the conversation, which is what we all need to be able to do today, right? So at a later point, we're going to have that conversation, and I think that that's going to be really worth watching for everyone.
I think this was the main issue to begin with anyway, was just children at these shows. It wasn't
I think that was the big thing. I don't think anybody cares.
Nobody cares about drag performers or whether they do that. We live in a free country. If this is something you want to do, you can do it.
Yeah.
But when it comes to kids and exposing these things to kids, that's where people draw the line. That's where people start to care.
Yeah, I think people care when there's an agenda that's seeping into their home, right? Like your neighbor. Nobody cares what your neighbor's doing at all. But when the neighbor has his music so loud that you hear it in your house, right, while you're trying to put your baby to bed, people are going to be concerned, right? If the neighbor's watering his yard, nobody cares. That's his business, what he's doing. But if you're washing your car and his sprinklers are spraying you while you're washing your car, that's annoying, right, and obnoxious. So it's all about how things impact you. Americans are really great about, in the end, supporting whatever people want to do in their own lives, not interfering. And what we definitely don't want an overreach by the government getting involved in our individual lives either, but we want people to respect us also, right? And now, at least in my opinion, this whole movement, the whole woke agenda is all about getting into your house, pulling open your drawers, looking through your desk, and it's like, hey, and they want to, instead of just looking, they're planting stuff, right? They want to plant stuff in your kid's room. I don't like that. I'm not about that. You stay out of my house. I'll raise my kids the way I raise my kids. You do whatever you want to do. And when it comes to kids, American parents, they don't have a high toleration, for it. So
no, not at all. And speaking of the same box, Equality Florida, which is an LGBTQ advocacy organization, issued a travel advisory.
Yeah, this is hilarious. This is hilarious.
And it's about risks to the LGBTQ community of traveling or relocating to the state of Florida. So
right. As if anybody's going to care what these people say about coming to Florida. People are coming to Florida in droves. And here's the thing. Having no state income tax impacts gay people, trans people, transgender, transsexual, cross-dressing, straight, bent over, leaning back, sitting down, standing up, no matter what your persuasion is about anything in the world, not having to pay sales, not having to pay income tax in your state is a big deal. Yeah. Number 2, we have the best weather in the entire country. Okay. Number 3, it's the free state of Florida. You can come here and you can start a business tomorrow, right? Without having to worry about Gavin Newsom coming in and dripping hair gel all over the place. Okay, that's a big deal. So the state of Florida is the free state of Florida. People love it. They love it here. We have leadership here. Of course they're going to come here. And it doesn't matter what this organization says or any other. It could have been AAA. It could have been any organization. It could have been AT&T. It could have been anybody who said don't come here. But you know what? People are going to come here no matter what.
This is a picture of their travel advisory. And I'll be honest with you, John, I would not have a problem with this if it just said
Me either.
all people, all human beings, travel advisory, don't come to Florida because we're full. We don't need any more people. Don't move here.
Yeah, we're not complaining. We're not. I want to make that clear. We're not complaining about it. If we wish that these travel advisories would prevent people from coming to Florida, it'd be great if Florida stayed the same. All right, especially in Central Florida. Don't move here. Yeah, right. We are full. Oh, we're full. We don't like anybody. We don't like anything. Don't come. Don't come. Don't come. Absolutely. Yeah. So we're happy. We're happy to stay with the same population level, at least for the time being.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. All right, it's time once again. Say hello to little Osceola.
So yes, we are coming from the most corrupt county in the state of Florida. Little Osceola, there dancing his little tune. We do have one more state thing to cover, which is basically some election stuff. But I guess we'll just skip to those. Do election stuff anyway.
Election at the end because we have some news there.
Yeah, let's do it.
But we will start off with something that happened. It's some good news in some ways. You know what I mean? But there are some questions surrounding it. The Orlando Magic has relocated their G League affiliate from Lakeland to Kissimmee.
Yeah.
And anybody that knows me knows I am a huge Orlando Magic fan. I was excited, but I also have questions about it. Obviously, they had a big press conference. They said that they're going to be moving it from Lakeland to Kissimmee. The G League, which is the developmental league, they used to call it the D League, but they don't call it that because they thought it was derogatory, to call it the G League or the D League. So there is 28 teams in the, actually 30 teams in the G League, and they'll be playing games at the Silver Spurs Arena. So I did see, that's the new logo for the Osceola Magic. I did see at least one person that we both know question, how they got the Magic here in Osceola County and what concessions were made to get them here. So
we do, yeah. We want to see the details of this transaction. So yeah, I'm happy that they're here too. That's great. That's going to make money for the for Heritage Park, right?
Yeah.
That's for sure. That's gonna, people will want to go see their games. It might actually reduce the amount of Orlando Magic people from Osceola, right?
Yeah,
because they're going to come and get their basketball fix here in town locally.
And the good thing is you could see some actual NBA players at these games because a lot of times guys are injured or they're coming back from injury and they end up going and playing in the G League, or for the G League team for a little while. So for me personally, I am excited that I can go and see those games. I used to be a annual ticket holder. Not right now, but Biden economy.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah, it's good. We want to see the details of it. When you live in a county like Osceola, nothing can be, they're always trying to slip something past you, right? So it's almost like the deal means that Brandon Arrington gets to start as the forward for the G League team in order for them to come down here. That was like the concession. Because these commissioners always win in these transactions, right? They always win. It doesn't matter what they vote on, they always win. And so we'd like to see the nitty and gritty of this deal. How did they get here? Why did they come? Wait till they get that traffic, right? Wait till they get that. So it's not like people don't come here on purpose. Businesses don't come here intentionally because the city is run by a bunch of clowns. Nobody, if you're a company person, right? You have a business. Normally, you're pretty serious. You have serious concerns. You want to make sure that you have the workforce, that you have the education background there, that you have the infrastructure. We have none. We can't even put out fires. We can't even send out firemen and EMTs and so on because we don't have the staff. That's another issue, So I think we may talk about that here or in the later show or whatever. But I mean, those are some big infrastructural issues that we have in Osceola County, and the reason that companies don't come is because we have a bunch of clowns who are basically giving themselves big paydays in a lot of what they do. So
yeah, I mean, if you get stuck in some of these traffic jams throughout Osceola County, where you're sitting in 3-mile backups on the turnpike, or these hour-long commutes down Poinciana Boulevard, and you get to experience this for yourself, you're like, why would I want to be here? Why would I want to deal with this? So I don't blame any business that says they don't want to come to Osceola County.
yeah, you really have to understand from a business aspect why people would come here, right? There are good reasons to come down here, and it's just that none of them are probably as good as the reasons to not come here, which chief being the leadership of the county. Yeah. I mean, that would scare anybody away. You don't want little Osceola doing the contract negotiations on your behalf and so on, or controlling your infrastructure, and that's the problem, and that's who we have.
Right. All right, so I don't know if you caught this, but about 36 residents confronted the county commission at their public comments meeting this past Monday. We don't have video for that because, of course, the public comments meeting, which the county has once a month, they don't video that meeting.
Yeah.
They don't make that meeting public. I mean, as far as the greater public, you have to fill out a form the Sunday before the meeting, and then you can show up. Well,
it's a joke.
Yeah.
It's a joke. These guys, they just don't want anybody talking, and then they don't film this. They don't put this out. They put their own faces. They'll put their names on the swimming centers and on voting locations, but they won't allow the citizens to speak and put it on YouTube because, God forbid, anyone be identified as speaking against the county. They don't want anybody to know about that. So I think what we may have to do is we may have to find somebody that films all of these, right?
Well, I think that Jeremy Fetzer does film most of them when he goes.
So Jeremy Fetzer is a local operative. For those of you that don't know, he's a local guy that he works with Osceola Action, and he works with other. I think he has his own PAC too, and it's just kind of an anti-establishment guy around town. We were actually going to have him on, but we couldn't arrange the thing because he was going to talk about some issues that we got going on, and hopefully we can have him on next time if we can get it set up. So we do need. I think we need to film these, and we need to play these, and we need to make maybe a YouTube channel that has all these, so that people can see what people are saying. You're not alone. And by the way, this company that's coming down, it's a French company. Speaking of Macron. We have a French company coming down. It's a manufacturing chemical. People are very concerned. They did a petition which has over 2,000 signatures. We're going to put that petition down here in the comments as well. Please sign the petition and let the governors know, or the commissioners know, that you don't support this action. And I thought they had a vote already where they killed this, and they.
Well, no, there was supposed to be some kind of housing development going in somewhere.
So it was just the housing that they killed.
Yes.
Okay.
But this hydrogen plant that they want to put up, they're still talking about that.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of.
It's still in the early stages of discussion. It's not on the agenda yet, but it's gonna be.
But there are a lot of things to consider. For this type of thing. Now, if you're Brandon Arrington, you're running for re-election, and you've never created a job in your 15 years of being, except for yourself and your father, right? He's made contracts for CM and Associates or Arrington, whatever it is, whatever the name of the. He's given contracts to them. He's given contracts to his buddies, but he's not given any. He's not made any jobs on for District 3 in Osceola County. I would be desperate too. I'd be looking for hydrogen, nuclear. I'd be looking for anything. You can mine uranium out of Lake Tahoe and you can get it out of there. But I mean, now it's kind of late. He's running in an election where people really despise this man, and for good reason and measure.
Yeah, and this man has been there for 15 years already. Enough's enough. You know what I mean? Let's not make it 20. Let's.
20 years in office, and the only thing that you've created is traffic.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. It's time for some fresh blood.
It's time. So I wanted to share with you guys something that my wife experienced last night. My wife works out off Disney property. She was on her way home last night, and she encountered this. Now, what you're seeing here is It's the intersection of 535 and 536. Okay.
This is crazy.
Yeah.
So they've blocked off the traffic, right? This is at a major intersection. I don't know if you can see the size of this intersection. This is a major intersection. People who live here in Osceola County know how big this is. I mean, where's law enforcement? Right? I guess they come, right? People call 911. They could come.
Yeah, they did come at the end. But, my wife was freaking out. She was scared. She said there was hundreds of people on the road. As you can see, they're lighting off fireworks, doing donuts in the middle of the intersection. And this is a four-way intersection, so all four ways were cut off with the traffic while the lawlessness.
I would have driven
was
into
going
it.
on.
Honestly, I would have driven right into it. But that's me. I look for the problem to step in. So, but I would have driven into it. Let them get caught.
Yeah.
Let them get caught. If they want to crash into my car or they want to get shot or whatever it is, disturb me on my path. If I had that green light, I would have went through it.
Yeah, it's just crazy, and just the things that you see out there.
Yeah, this is
she
nuts.
was freaking out.
This is nuts.
I felt bad. I didn't know what to do. I told her to call the cops, but then the cops came. She said when the cops came, that all the cars and all the people just went
Dispersed.
and just got out of there.
Well, the cops should have come from all four directions.
And she goes home on the 417 to the turnpike. So, she got on the 417. She said a bunch of those cars were on the 417, racing down the 417. So it's like.
I thought that was one of the things that Marcos Lopez campaigned on, right? Was the traffic situation, having more patrol cars or more traffic people and whatever.
He did have races going on, I guess.
At one of the at an appropriate place.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So
I wonder what happened, but that's crazy. Yeah. Those are some criminals that need to get caught, though.
Yeah. Another thing that's happening here in Osceola County, and I don't know if I had that in the show notes or not, but new Osceola community is going to require that all homes have solar systems on their rooftops. This is coming out to Sunbridge. It's a development called Wayland Park, and it's going to feature the nation's largest installation of Tesla solar roofs. I don't know how I feel about this. They talked about, Hurricane Ian knocking out power to 2.6 million Floridians, and, if they had
Well, here's the thing. I don't know that I care one way or another, right? But I do care whenever I'm forced to do something. Yeah. So if I don't want to buy there because I don't want to buy the house, it depends on the arrangement that they have. If you build all the houses and all the houses have it, and then you're buying in, that's one thing. But if you already bought your house, how are they going to force you to put the solar panels on?
Right.
All right, so this is a new development, though.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what the arrangement is going to be, but if you have to pay for that, you should be able to reject getting the panels put on.
Yeah.
Right, to save money.
Absolutely.
So especially, it's not like they went with some Chinese, brand. They went with Tesla. So I'm sure it's going to be expensive. It'd probably be good, but also expensive, and and I'm just not sure. I hope this isn't in some effort to save the planet, because we all know that. Building those solar panels is not healthy for the planet to do.
No,
so
it's not.
Nor are those thousands and thousands of batteries that they're going to put into those basements.
No.
Or else then they're outside of their homes.
I'm doing a screenshot now so we can talk about the elections, because I didn't have anything besides that. Although we did have a St. Cloud City Council meeting this past Thursday, our City Council went ahead and approved 246 new homes in the massive Edgewater subdivision. No fight, no pushback, despite the fact that this developer, this project first came before the council on March 9th, okay? And on March 9th, the council, there was a motion to pass. I believe it was made by Mayor Blackwell. No one was willing to second that motion to pass this thing. They're trying to get a mixed-use designation, although this development is going to be 80% residential. So it died at that meeting, and the developer said that he was going to make some significant changes and bring it back. So it came back to this council meeting. Lynette Matheny, who is a councilwoman, she asked the planning manager, so what's changed with this? This was before us before, it died for lack of a second, what has changed? And the planning manager said that yes, at the meeting, the developer said that he was going to make significant changes, but after the meeting, he went to city staff and told them, nope, I'm not gonna make any changes, I'm gonna go with what the county approved. Now, the thing is that this was approved through Osceola County because originally Edgewater was part of Osceola County. It got annexed into the city. So after hearing this, that, this developer basically gave them the finger, they went ahead and made the motion to pass it. Ken Gilbert was the one who made the motion. No surprise there. And I have that video. I don't have it here for the show, but I do have it on my page, which is Facebook/onboard with Tom Lord. You can go and see that.
We'll share it here in the comments also.
Yeah, it's no surprise to me that they're doing this and that there was no fight. I mean, I wish there was. They'll tell you that they can't do anything about it, that they have to approve it, that the city will get sued if they don't. These are all lies. This is not true. They have every right to turn down any of these developments. They have every right to go ahead and ask for significant changes. They just don't.
Well, I mean, there's a reason that they don't, right? And that they're very friendly. I'll put it this way: they're very friendly with the developers. You got to wonder, how do they get all this power, right? That they get, and these are people. There used to be this kingmaker who's kind of getting abandoned by all the powerful people, but and we all.
I think we'll know. I really do.
I think it is, but in the end, these guys, they have a very cozy game with these developers, and I'm not against development, but at the same time, I mean, you can't develop every inch of land and not build one road. You can't develop every inch of land until the water coming out of all the faucets is yellow and then not do anything about it. Right. You can't develop every inch of land and then basically not have a firefighter, within 40 minutes of your dwelling, right, to protect or your business. So this is the problem, is that these guys don't think about anything, and they're just so friendly with these developers apparently that they're willing to sacrifice everybody. And the rumor is it's because they're all leaving. They're not going to be here. They're not long-term people. They say that they're from Osceola. They say they're from St. Cloud, but in the end, they're going to leave here. They're going to move somewhere else, and they're going to sell everything out and then just leave the citizens of Osceola County who aren't going to move to Alabama. They're just going to leave them. They're just going to leave everything in place. And so that's the real crime here, is that there's an agenda. Just like there's an agenda with all of the woke stuff, there's an agenda here with all the development. And it's something that we should all understand, because unless we do,
John, the sad truth is that every single elected official in Osceola County knows we have a problem.
Yes.
Right? Every single one of them knows we have this problem. That we have a lack of infrastructure and we have major traffic issues.
Yeah.
All right. They continue to ignore this problem. And every time I see a politician that campaigns that they're going to limit growth, or they're for smart growth, or they're going to stop out of control growth, and then they get in office and they go ahead and we're going to approve this one, we're going to approve that one. It just really...
Well, we know that these people are liars, though.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised they're liars. If you don't know that they're liars by this point, then you don't know a lot, because that's what it is. They are liars. That's all it is. They don't care about the development. That's not their issue. Their issue is making as much as they can in whatever way that they can get away with and move out of town. That's the goal here for them. It's not to develop this county to make it prosperous. I mean, there's no business here, right? There's no place to work. If you want to make a good income, you have to become a county commissioner, right? If you want to, you have to build houses. That's the only way. And you imagine, if you build something, right? If you're a general contractor or you are an NGO, look at all these people that have all these six-figure incomes in Osceola County. How do they get those six-figure incomes? It's through deals with the county. It's through deals with these politicians. It doesn't happen naturally. It's not organic. They're not building jobs. They're building jobs for themselves. I mean, we have 2 commissioners who are heads of NGOs, who are head of these nonprofits here in Osceola County. We have one that's head of the Education Foundation. The guy has no background in education whatsoever, right? But he's the head of the Education Foundation. The guy's as dumb as a box of rocks on his best day. And he's the head of the Education Foundation.
And why is that? Because there's so much money in education.
There's so much money there, right? And then why is this other guy? He's art, right? He's a head of an art foundation. How does that happen? The guy doesn't. The guy also, I'm not gonna say he's as dumb as the other one, but he's close behind, right? They're like this, right? And how does he get a 6-figure job running an art foundation? What does he know about that? The guy's not cultured. If you ever spoke to him, he's not cultured or anything. So how does he get that job? Why? Because they're getting paid their dues. And who arranged these jobs? That's the question that Osceolians should be asking, right? How did they arrange these jobs for themselves? So I can point to every politician in the county, and I can say, this is the connection that he made to get this. This is the connection he made to get this. This is the connection he made to get this. And
it seems like no one wants to hear it. It's just kind of like, they don't.
I think now they do, though, right? Things are changing now.
Blinders on. I hope they are.
Well, I hope
they are, because you get what you vote for, and this is what we got.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a big difference between today and how things were a couple of election cycles ago, right? A couple of election cycles ago, right? Like the one that I ran for, it wasn't controversial, or nothing was really being discussed to a big level. There's always been people that have been fighting these people who knew that they were corrupt, right? But it wasn't like super organized, and it wasn't very large in scope, right? Even though it had super good people like, I don't want to mention their names, but people who have been involved, they had their PACs, they were fighting for this stuff, right? And then it kind of wavered, and then now it's picking up again. But now the difference is they had to spend a fortune to keep all their seats. Right? This election, they're gonna have to spend a fortune to get rid of me. They're gonna have to spend a fortune to get rid of some of the other people, and to keep these other seats. And so that's the big difference. Is now it's not the same anymore. It's not the same environment. They're scared. That's why they're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's why they have all this dark money coming in. That's why they're making all these deals. That's why you have like Darren Soto, our representative, acting as if he's desperate because he needs these people and they need him. And that's a big deal. That's a big difference, a big change. I'm putting up right now the pictures of the Budweiser brands, and we'll put up all the things that we said we were going to put up. So the Budweiser brands, what else did we say we were going to put up here?
The link to the hydrogen petition.
Yes, the link to the hydrogen petition. That's right. So I'm going to put that up now. There's over 2,000 signatures on it. Please go and sign it if you're inclined to. You can reach out to the people, I guess, through there. I'd love to have them on the show and have them explain their petition and why they have it and why they're against this particular project.
All right. So you want to talk about the races? What's going on?
Sure. Let's talk about that.
You want to start off with state, or you want to go with the local race?
Well, let's start off with the state. So we'll move on to representative. So United States Representative, at least in District 9, is still Angel Coba and Darren Soto. We know that Scotty Moore has also filed, but he's filed with the FEC. I'm looking at the state page. From what I understand, there might have been other people also. So we'll check that out. We'll give you on that later. We'll work on it. We still have Willie Montague in District 10. Montague, I'm sorry. Dr. Willie Montague in District 10, which is Maxwell Frost's district. That would be a great race, I think. Yeah. Dr. Willie Montague versus Maxwell Frost. And then in 11, we have Anthony Sabatini, who's a very big Trump guy against Daniel Webster, who's more of an establishment guy. In 12, we have Gus Bilirakis, and those are really the only ones I want to touch on there. State attorney, I'm going to skip that. State senator. So in 25, we have still Kristen Arrington and Carmen Torres, the only two. That's a very interesting primary. I'm sure a Republican is going to get in there, and we'll see how that goes. Aaron Grawl, who's was really a big parental rights person, is rerunning in District 29. For state representative, we have in 35, We have Fred Hawkins. No one else has declared in that for that post yet. I wish somebody would take him on in the Republican primary. The guy is anything but a Republican. He's a tool of the establishment, and he's also a tool, period. So Rachel Plakin, she's rerunning. Of course, she's the incumbent. Scott's wife, Susan Placencia, Renee Placencia's sister, is running again in 37. She's the incumbent currently. We have David Smith, who's also an incumbent in 38. Running Doug Bankson, the incumbent in 39. Let's skip here. We have 42. We have Anna Escamani. Nobody else has run there. Man, if you had a sane person running in that job, for that job, it'd be great. We have Joanna Lopez, who's now the incumbent. She's running for her second term in 43. We have Daisy Morales running in 44 against Jennifer Harris, who's the incumbent. We have Carolina Amnesty. She refiled for her seat. Christian de la Torre, the Republican, is running in District 46. He's up there. In 47, we have Anthony Nieves. That's Paula Stark's seat.
She hasn't filed for re-election.
She has not filed for re-election yet. In 48, that's not really a race with Josie Tomkow. She filed for re-election. Who else? Who else I want to point out here? Mike Beltran in 70. Don't forget, if you're in District 70, Mike Beltran is a phenomenal. He's the incumbent, but he's a phenomenal guy. Elect him back into office. And that's about all for the state. So let's go to Osceola County.
Local races here, and I do have that. We can pull that.
In the next show, we'll do Orange, and then we'll do Lake, and then we'll do some of the other surrounding counties here.
Whoa, what happened?
Uh-oh, did we lose? So we may have lost sound, or we lost video, but we still have sound. Uh-oh.
All right, let me see, check something.
All right, hold on a second. That's what I see. What it is. Where do you? Oh, here's what it is right here. Uh-oh.
Give us a second.
Yeah. Okay, so we can continue talking. But we lost the video, so that's that. Okay, so let's continue because that's not going to come back on. I think that died there.
Oh.
Okay, so anyways, we got
you know what, then?
We'll go without sound. No, leave it. I just fixed it.
I can plug it in here.
No, it's already on the charging one there.
Oh, okay.
So it was plugged in the wrong way, yeah. So we got in Osceola for clerk of court, we still have Josue Lorenzo, a Republican who filed against what's the guy's name? Kelvin Soto. He has not filed for re-election yet. I'm certain that he will. We have Tim Devine, Russ Gibson, and running for sheriff. Lopez has not filed. Also, Anthony Lopez said that he was going to run, but don't see him filed. Peggy Choudhury gave herself $10,000 when she filed her re-election paperwork. Brandon Arrington gave himself $5,000. And he filed for re-election. I wonder if Brandon Arrington is going to stay in there. Who knows? Ricky the fake cowboy, bubblegum cowboy, whatever you want to call him, has filed for re-election in District 5. Ricky Booth, I think everybody knows how I feel about Ricky Booth. He's basically he's a Stetson hat with no brim. He's worthless. Jeffrey Hawk filed in School Board District 3 against me. He has not raised a penny in his race so far. I doubt that he will raise any money at all.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, Christopher Bailey, running for judge in Osceola County, Group 2, has raised $2,000. Migdalia Perez, who she was the defense attorney for the what's the guy's name? In the Nicole Montalvo case.
Oh, okay.
Angel
Rivera.
Angel Rivera. She was the defense attorney. She gave herself $5,000 for her race.
Wow.
And she is running for judge also. We have a bunch of people that filed for the city commission in Kissimmee. Lysandra Roman is filed in seat 1. Wade Choate is filed in this seat 3, and in seat 5, which is the mayor's seat, Olga Carino has filed. She's been filed. Jackie Espinoza, who was the former candidate for District 4 and has a lawsuit against Cheryl Grebe in the appeals court right now, filed for mayor in Kissimmee. She was also endorsed by the Republican Party in her previous county commission race. And then Felix Ortiz, who had filed recently, he withdrew. We heard that there were some health issues there. Felix, we hope you're doing well and recovering. So that is Osceola County, all the filed things. I will be filing sometime in May, probably, for my re-election. And we'll see who else files, and that's all.
Yeah, that's it for the show, guys. Remember, follow Jon on Twitter at
Jon Unsanctioned. JONUNSANCTIONED. Unsanctioned, Jon Unsanctioned. Also on Facebook, Jon Unsanctioned. You can search me, school board member Arguello, Unsanctioned.
And you can follow me on Twitter, although I'm not really on there very much. I hate my Twitter handle. I need to change that if I can. But anyway, Facebook/onboard with Tom Lord. We hope you have a great night, and we'll see you next time.
God bless you all. Thank you for joining us.